Hello there everyone. Bump bump. Welcome back to some more of the envelopes. I'm hoping to finish them all off in this particular video, so I'm going to crack on. So basically what I've done here is I've got a piece of my 12 by 12 card and I folded it in such a way that it folds up as a flap over this way and this folds over as a flap this way, and they overlap slightly. Then from some of the leftover paper I used it as a strip, and I border punched the edge, and I border punched the edge here. And what's going to happen is that this is going to sit in there, but I'm going to sit it high enough so that it creates a pocket in here and a pocket here. Now it doesn't fit. If I sit it inside there, it doesn't fit all the way down to the bottom, but that doesn't matter. It's just a great way of using up some of my scraps. And the actual width of this piece obviously fits inside of my journal that I'm making. So what I'm going to do first of all is I'm going to glue this in place by just marking where I want it to go. Maybe a touch lower. So I'm ending up with double pockets. And then I'm going to pull this flat back, and then with a pencil I just want to mark roughly where it's going to sit. Okay, so then I couldn't see that pencil mark. Let me just check again. So I'm going to sit that in there, pull that back, pencil mark it. Okay, so I'm going to put a thin line of glue on the back side here. Just a very thin line. Okay, and then I'm going to sit that back in here. That's going to sit there, and then I'm going to put a thin line of glue along this edge here. So now that will sit there, and I've now got a pocket here and a pocket here. Okay. Now the next thing that I want to think about is the closure, and what I'm going to do is I've cut out this piece and I'm going to glue it onto the actual envelope flap itself. So I'm going to centralise it using the border that I've punched out. Now I'm only putting glue along the top edge because I want that to sit. It's about there, and then that's going to sit like that. And then the other thing that I've done is I've cut a thin strip of acetate. I'll wobble it about so that you can see the light reflecting on it, and I've done this at about an inch wide, and I've cut it to the width of the actual envelope piece itself, and I'm going to sit it over the top of this image that I've just glued in place. Now again, I'm just going to put a tiny bit of glue on the back of the strip. It's not going to totally hold it in place, but I just want it to hold it there for the time being as a temporary measure, because I'm going to stitch around this. So it now means that this flap is sitting underneath that acetate. The acetate, because it's clear, is still carrying on showing the image, so you don't actually see that there's a closure there, and then that flap will pull out. I'm not going to open it up right now because the glue's not set. So what I'm then going to do is I'm going to open this back up, and then once the glue has dried off a bit, I'm going to sew around it. So I'll come back and show you what that looks like in a minute. I've stitched up the two sides, so that now holds this piece of acetate in place as well. And I also stitched around the actual image that I've put on as the closure tab, and then that will sit underneath that piece of acetate, so you can't actually see. You know, it's not totally obvious that there's a closure point there, but it's just holding that now in position. And then the other thing that I've done is I've put some glossy accents on the back of this butterfly that I cut out. So I'll put some glossy accents on, and I'm going to sit it on top of the acetate and let that sit on top of there, so that when I open this up, and I'm going to have to do it carefully, then the butterfly is still there in position, and then I can enter some of my correspondence and my notes and letters that I've received into the pockets in there. So I'm going to see if I can close that up without disturbing my butterfly, and then I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do on the back of this envelope. So bearing in mind that it's going to be sat in, hang on, let me get it right. So it's going to sit in there, and then that will flip over there. So that's the right way up. This is the back side now of the envelope. So again, from the Steampunk Debutante papers, I've cut out one of the images, and I'm going to put that on as a belly band there. And then I've cut out two of the roses, one which is going to sit there, and then this one was actually, I think it was around that flower, was joined onto this flower on the print. So I've actually cut it out separately, so it's got this funny little shape out here. But I thought if I stick it behind there, you won't notice that there's a shape cut out of it. So I'm going to stick that on first, and I'm going to put some micropore over it as well. So if I just put a dab of glue there and there, because I need it at the right angle, because otherwise it protrudes beyond the actual envelope itself, and then it'll stick out of the journal. So I want it about there. So I just want to put a piece on the back here, so that when I slide something underneath the belly band, it's not going to catch on there. So that's that on there, and then I can put glue at the top. That might go down a touch further, do it to there, and then some glue on the bottom. And then I'm just going to sit this rose on top of the advert. I'm going to sit that there. And then it means then that I can sit stuff underneath that actual belly band. So that's that one now ready. Now I have done some of these envelopes before and decorated them up much more than this, so I'll put the link in the description box down below, so that you can go and see the other envelopes that I've made in this style as well. So that's it for this one. See you in a sec for the next one. The second lot of envelopes that I'm going to do are these two here, which were the ones that I covered in video number 2 or 3? 3. 2. 3. Yeah, 2 or 3. Can't remember. And so basically these were the ones that I made as pouches from out of some paper stock, the craft paper that I'd got. So I've fussy cut out a couple of the images, and this one I'm going to stick onto this piece of black card just to give it a little bit of a border edge, and also to just give it a little bit of extra support. And it's only a really thin, tiny border. This was just a scrap piece of black card that I'd got, and was just the right size. So this is just acting as a tiny frame around. I'm just going to use my scissors to trim it off. I think sometimes just a tiny frame around it just adds that little bit of a pop. And then I'm going to put glue around 2 of the sides. So as you can see on the envelope at the top, I made a boo-boo here. And this covers it up. So I'm just going to stick that on there. And this will then become a tuck spot, because I've only glued it around the 2 sides. So it means that I can now tuck something underneath there to hold it in place. And then I'm going to put this one down here, and again to do the same thing, I'm just going to put glue across what would be the bottom and the side. And then that will sit there. And that's all the decorating I'm doing on those on the front. And then on the back, again, made another boo-boo here where I actually creased it in the wrong place. So let me just turn these round. I'm going to put this lace on. So I want my Fabri-Tac. And then measure the length. And that will sit on there. And then the same for this one. And then put some Fabri-Tac on. And then I can glue those also into my journal once that glue is taken off. And so I'll carefully turn them over. So those are the next 2 envelopes that are going to go into my journal. So see you again in a second for the 3rd one. 3rd one is going to be really simple. Basically all I've done is I fussy cut this lady out of one of the main pages out of the kit. Now I don't happen to like her robotic arm. Don't like it. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick her on here so that she now becomes a tuck spot. So I could put a big tag behind her. But because I don't like that robotic arm, I fussy cut out one of the butterflies. I'm going to stick a butterfly on top of her robotic arm. So she's really straightforward. So I'm just going to flip her over like this. And then I'm just going to run a straight line down this edge down here. Just going to put a bit on there to just hold it in place, and a bit on her elbow there to hold that in place, and then some across the bottom, but the rest of it I'm leaving completely open. So I can flip her back over and put her, make sure I've got my envelope the right way around, yes. And then I'm going to sit her right there. Okay. And then with the butterfly, I'm going to position it on her arm. Because as I say, I don't like that robotic arm. Now the other place that I'm actually going to put a bit of glue is just on the edge of this clock here. To just keep that held in position as well. And then sit that way, I think. And that covers up her robotic arm, and then that can then slot inside of there, and because the clock's glued down as well, it will just stop anything that you put under her from falling out this way as well. So she's going to be my very simple tuck spot there. Now on the inside, I want to do a little bit of something. So if I flip it over, I'm going to leave this as one that you open out. And I'm going to add some concertina envelopes inside of here so that they will fold up back inside each other, but then I can fold them back out and use the envelopes for a storage area. So if I just put that to one side, I'm just using 3 coffee dyed envelopes that I've got, and I'm opening them out on the back side so that you've got the entrance to the back of the envelope here. Okay, this bottom edge of the second one will line up underneath this flap, but line up with that line, the crease of the envelope, so it'll be like that, so that they butt up to each other, and then the flap of the first envelope will stick down on top of the second one. Now this is a rounded edge flap. If I flip that out the way, we've got that cutaway here on the envelope on the inside to form a straight edge, and I want this one to do the same. So I'm just going to roughly fold that edge over to see where that line is, and then I can trim off that excess before I glue that flap down. Just trim that bit off, flip that flap, flip the flap back over and put some glue on the back of it. Line my envelope up, and then I can flip that over. Okay, and I'm going to do the same with the second to the third. So pop that back over, line that up, flip that back over and fold that back. It's all the F's, isn't it? Flip, flap, fold. Cut that bit off. Okay, flip that back over. Put some glue on. Line the envelope back up. Flip that over. Now I'm going to leave this flap for the time being because I might decide to add a fourth. It depends how much I pack these envelopes up. But I will close that up, flip that over, flip it that way, and then I'm going to stick this on the inside with my micropore along this edge to create that hinge. And then that can flap over that way. And then that can go like that, like that, like that, and like that. And then that will sit in there. And then when I open it up, I can open it out this way to reveal the pockets, or I can open it out that way to reveal the flat sides, which I can decorate up and add some pictures onto. I might even actually put a tab punch on here as well, so that I've got something to hold. But again, I'm not going to decorate all of this up totally, because I want to add some of the items to it first before I decide exactly what I'm going to put where. And then sort of, you know, match my decoration up accordingly, because I might decide to stick some of the letters on here, in which case then I won't need any of the decorating. I'd use washi tape to decorate this up around the edge. I could add extra little pockets on these flaps here and here. But again, I'm going to leave that until it comes to me actually putting it all together. So for the meantime, that will close like that. That's going to be like that, and I'm now going to stick this one in my journal, and I'll come back and show you the next one in a sec. This one's a real quickie. These are already done. So basically I did a video not so long back, and again I'll put the link in the description box down below, and if off the top of my head, I think I called these the envelope tag pouch. So basically it's just an envelope, and I cut the top open to form a tag shape, and then I decorated the front and decorated the back. So I've used some of the Graphic 45 Steampunk Debutante images. I've used a chipboard here, fussy cutter rows here and here. These were from the sticky label sheet. So these are already done. I'm just going to stick these already into my journal, and now I'm going to go on to the very last page in my particular journal. See you in a sec. For my last page, I've actually made 2 envelopes. Okay, so I've made 2, if I'll flip over, there we go, from my 12x12 papers. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick these 2 front to front, so that I've got a flap on this side and a flap on that side. Okay, but what I'm going to do is I'm only going to glue down these 2 sides as close to the edge as I possibly can. So if I put glue down there and down there, didn't do that so close, did I? And then sit that one on top of that one. So that I've now got the bottom open and the top is open. Now because I haven't glued any of the flaps down, it means that I can open these up on both sides, and I'm going to sew down this edge down here on the inside edge of that score line of that crease, so that I'm just reinforcing where I've actually glued. It just helps to make it a little bit more sturdy. All right, so I'm going to go off and go and sew these, and I'll be back in a sec. So as you can now see, I've just stitched down these 2 side edges here, so I can now close these back up. Okay, but I've got this opening here at the bottom, and I've got this opening here at the top. Now if you can cast your minds right the way back to the beginning, I left one of my punched edges unpunched. Alright, now the reason for this was because I was going to do this page. So I'm just going to snip at an angle this back flap that I didn't punch. In fact, I might be better off with my smaller scissors. So I'm snipping it off at an angle down to that crease, and then I'm going to slot these envelopes over the top of that flap, so that it acts as a hinge that's sat inside of the 2 envelopes. Okay, so this next bit is tricky and delicate. So I want some glue on this side. Now you can use your double-sided tape if you wish, but I just think that because we've got to slide these envelopes down onto this flap, glue is sometimes better. But I've got to now mind that this glue on this side, I don't get it onto these envelopes here. So it's a delicate operation, this, you know. So yeah, measure before you put your glue on, because you might need to trim a little bit more off these angles. And then we can open those up and sit that on top. Okay, so I've then got 2 envelopes on the back instead of 1. And also, because I've now got this pocket at the top up here, it means that I can put something within that pocket as well. Or I've got some greetings cards, but you could use greeting cards that you've received, or you can just get a piece of card and fold it in half. I'm going to make these into little mini journals, so I will sit the back cover inside that pocket and then have the pages and the front cover of the journal hanging over the top. Now I might do one for this side and also one for this side. What I've got to watch though is that I don't bulk it out too much. At the moment this hasn't got any pages in it, but by the time I've added pages in, that could end up being quite bulky. So I might only decide to put one journaling booklet in there just for the time being, and then I can decide later on if I want to add one on this side of the journal as well. So let's just go through the pages that we've done today, which was this one here with the image on it to act as the closure, so that that sits underneath the acetate, and so that that will just flap out and it reveals these 2 pockets here, and then that can sit back under there. We've got the belly band on the back of this one. This one has got the 2 little tuck spots on it with the lace on the back. This one is the big tuck spot of the lady, so that something can sit down behind her. This one was the 2 envelope tag pouches that I've decorated up. And then this one was the double envelopes that forms the pocket. So Jessica, you know, you were asking me what this plain one was for. That was what it was for, was to be able to add those envelopes on the back. So the next part of this mini series is, at the moment this has become a storage area. I want to show you how you can add some pages to it to make it more journalified, so that you can actually do some writing in there as well if you want. So that will be the next video that I'll share with you, is how you can actually add some writing pages, some journaling pages in here as well. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks again for joining me today, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.